let's talk about genres, and specifically what they even are. Now, obviously, when we're talking about the publishing industry, uh, a genre is a marketing tool, right? It's you've read Stephen King. Here are 100 other horror novels that you might like. But when we move past that, there's a more interesting side to it when we look at what actually makes something a horror novel, what makes it fantasy or romance or mystery. Um, and part of what's interesting about this is that when we're talking about genres in this sense, there's actually two separate things we're discussing, and I like to call them setting genres versus structural genres. So, a setting genre is something like fantasy, sci fi, historical fiction, westerns, anything that the genre tells you where the story takes place. Um, and the kind of story that it is can really be anything. Um, obviously, genres do have tropes and types of stories that are common, but they aren't necessarily required. You can write a fantasy story that's very Tolkien esque, or you can write something very unique. You can write an action adventure fantasy, or you can write a fantasy mystery, which are less common, but they absolutely exist, right? So a setting genre doesn't really determine the type of story, it just determines where we are. Uh, the other side, though, is the structural genres, and those are the ones that tell us how the story works. And uh, I find I find this really interesting that really the only thing that differentiates them is what it is that makes the story progress. So allow me to explain this with a couple of examples. In an adventure story, the actual plot moves forward when the characters go to a new place. Adventures, you're moving around, you are traveling, and so the plot advances when we get to the next location. In a mystery story, the plot advances when when we gain more information, when we learn something new. Those are the moments where the plot is moving forward. Um, in a romance, the plot moves forward when the romantic relationship develops. Anytime there's a moment of major change in the relationship of the two main characters, that changes the plot and affects where things go. Uh, and so this is something that is basically universal to all of these different structural genres, is and is really the only fundamental thing that defines them when you really look at it. So you can have pretty diverse stories in the realm of something like mystery, for example, even though a lot of mystery stories are, detective novels that follow a relatively strict format. Any story that focuses on this, we don't know something, and we are trying, we uh, move forward in the story when we learn more about it, when we get closer to finding out what that mystery is. That can be a mystery novel, or a movie or TV show or whatever. Um, so I think understanding how these work, how different genres break down, and how they progress structurally can help us to have maybe more creative perspectives on what your preferred genre can be and where it can take you as you're writing. Um, and so this is something that I think about a lot in that sense. Uh, I don't really know how to end this video or where to go with it from here, but I've been talking for a while, so you know, uh, have your own thoughts about it. What do you think about genres? They're interesting for sure.